Reds dropped 2 of 3 against the Chicago White Sox. They had us really giving up at that point. Then they kind of caught our interest a little bit because they did drop 2 of 3 against the White Sox, but they did take game 3, so they had a win there. Then they go to win 3 straight against the Guardians in a sweep at Great American Ballpark, rivalry weekend, right? And then they put 7 runs up and a commanding win over the Pirates in game 1, but they would go on to lose games 2 and 3. So that 5-game win streak, that sweep over the Guardians, all that hard work, all that opportunity to build momentum heading into this Cubs series with the return of Hunter Greene, all of that just goes out the window. We're right back to where we started a week ago at this point. In fact, not only are we're not actually where we were a week ago at this point, we're actually a full game back further than where we were a week ago at this point, even after losing 2 or 3 against the White Sox. One of the many problems that this team has outside of their major inconsistencies when it comes to scoring runs, despite what the offensive statistical numbers show you regarding this team on a given night, they struggle to score runs. They're such an inconsistent offensive team. And they're not very clutch either. If they're down in games, what was the stat earlier regarding they have no come from behind wins?
0-21 when trailing in the 6th inning or later.
Not great. And I think it's fair that if we had Terry Francona on, I think we would ask that question. And Charlie Goldsmith, well, he thought it was a fair time to ask that question as well. I want to give a shout out to Joe Daneman again with Fox 19. This was his clip from the press conference last night following that loss against the Pirates. Here is Charlie Goldsmith asking Terry Francona that very question. What is it about this team not being able to score runs late in games and being able to come from behind?
You guys haven't had that late comeback in the final innings yet this season. How would you like to see the team kind of approach, and what can you do to maybe break through in the final innings in general?
There's no magic potion. I'm telling you. I mean, it's just baseball. Those things will happen. That's not a lack of wanting to and things like that. If you think that's the case, I don't know if you know the game. It's just that's part of the game.
Yeah. Here's the issue. 0-21, it's not just part of the game. I mean, you're losing your credibility a little bit there when you're saying, yeah, it's going to happen eventually. You're 0-21 when trailing in the 6th or later. 0-21. It's going to happen when? After 0-40? 0-60? How many losses in the 6th inning or later are we going to have here where they don't fight? Something has to change. That's a great question by Charlie Goldsmith. How do you change your approach when something that very clearly is not working? How do you fix it? And Terry Francona essentially just laughed at him and said, that's baseball, man. It's baseball. You know who gave those kind of responses? David Bell. That was the David Bell response. It's not that we don't want to win. It'll happen. We believe in the guys. And it's the same
it's
type
the
of
guys
thing.
In the locker room.
And it happens every night. There's a very, very real issue with the lack of scoring, with the lack of late game production. If they don't score first, they lose. If they don't win the first game of this series, they lose. There's no fight. There's nothing. Everybody knew they were going to lose that rubber match yesterday. Everybody did. Everybody. Because they don't fight. It just feels like they don't fight. I want them to fight. And I don't know what you can do. Terry Francona, again, I'm not blaming Terry Francona here. But if that's the response you're going to give, just know it sounds ludicrous. It's just baseball, man.
Let me ask.
It's just baseball.
So you're not wrong. I'm not even disagreeing with you. I guess when I always put, from a media standpoint, we're obviously siding with Charlie. Not that it has to be siding with anybody, but like, what's an answer he could have given that would have been acceptable? Because I think people just want a head on a stick right now. Like they're just,
correct.
Reds fans are angry. So to semi-defend Terry Francona here, what and pretty much any coach in these situations, when you're losing and things aren't going well, I still don't feel like there's ever, people get mad at every answer that comes out as opposed to what answer that would have appeased you. What could he have said? And maybe you don't have an answer for this, but what could he have said that would have made you feel differently? What is the right answer then?
I think acknowledging that there's a problem would have been the way to go. Yeah, I mean, it's not working. It's not working right now. We're actively looking to fix it. I'm not asking for specific detailed plans here. Just acknowledge that there's a problem. When you're 0-21 when trailing the 6th inning, there's a problem. When you're 16 games below 500 when you don't score first, there's a problem. And the fact that we just said it's baseball, it'll fix itself on its own. It's baseball. We don't have to change anything. It's baseball. You don't know the game. It's baseball. Like it's ludicrous. I love Terry Francona. I like the guy as a human being. We all do. But this is what we're talking about between David Bell and Terry Francona. There's no difference. There hasn't been one difference.
Well, there has been a difference. They're a much worse base running team, and they're hitting for less power.
Correct. Their stealing percentage, I think, is 8% worse than last year.
Terry Francona was going to come in. He was going to hold these guys accountable. We weren't going to lose any more one-run games. And all the fundamentals were going to be cleaned up. So far this season, if you split fundamentals into offense and defense, I'll give you the defense has gotten better. Everything else we were sold on Terry Francona has at the very best stayed the same. They're 5-8 in one-run games. It's the same as they were last year. There just hasn't been the serious improvement we thought we were going to get. And I think a lot of that does fall on the players. Obviously, you expect them to take a step. But how much weight are we putting on these guys to take a step when your additions are a one-year, flyer on Austin Hayes? We need Jose Trevino to hit 300, which he's never done before in his career. And then it looks like we have a good offseason. But if those guys don't live up to career years, even Gavin Lux is having a career year this year, then what are we looking at? Because we all agree that it's hard to necessarily bang on the front office right now when the offseason additions this offseason are the catalysts of how good this team is. And the team's not good, but they're one game below 500, and the reason why they're in that zone is because of the additions this offseason. All of those guys are having career years. No one expected this. So I don't know what the expectation is for this team, and I would love to know what the internal expectation is for this team. You said when you went to the Reds Caravan a few years ago, Kenner Krall said that they were focused on competing for the division.
Yeah, it was last season.
I don't know if that was the expectation going into this year. I would love to know.
With
Maybe
a better
I'm
roster,
wrong.
better manager, better pitching staff.
I think it would be a lot higher than that.
Yeah.
So then what are we looking at here? And then who do you blame? Because obviously they're not comfortable blaming the players at all, or David Bell would still be the manager of this team.
Correct.
So I don't know who's at fault here. I guess you can blame the front office. I guess you can blame the manager. At the end of the day, this team's just not very good.
Wonder what, like, the fundamental thing, too, like with errors and some of the mistakes. Like, I mean, if you're a professional baseball player, do you really need Terry Francona to tell you how to field a ball?
Shouldn't.
That's my thing. Like, I'm backtracking because I was one of those, like, the fundamentals matter and that we're going to see improvement with that. Now that we're not, sounds like I'm backtracking. But at the same time, Joe Burrow, does he need Zach Taylor to show him how to throw a football? Like, these guys, like, you're professional football, basketball, baseball players. Like, coaches matter, managers matter to a certain extent based on our debates in recent years. But, like,
yeah.
I don't know that, like, at some point too, the fundamentals do just come down to how do professional baseball
1,000%.
players not know how to field a ground ball consistently, make as many base running errors as they do, because a lot of times what athletes will do is, well, you didn't play, so you don't know, and it's like, well, you're a professional ball player, you should know how to field a ground ball. I don't know, maybe I'm making it too simplistic, but to me, Terry Francona's pretty old. I don't think he's getting down. All right, guys, like it's Little League. All right,
Correct.
So you're going to get down. Your legs are going to be shoulder width apart. You're going to get in an athletic stance. You're going to put the glove down, put the hand over here. That's not what's happening, and it shouldn't have to be that way, and I don't think that it needs to be that way. These guys need to be better. The players themselves need to be better. To Terry's credit, though, he's not going to throw them under the bus, but you're right. A little transparency builds a little trust with the media and the fan base to know we're all in this together.
I wouldn't say Elliot and I were David Bell fans.
Absolutely
We were just
not.
defending him towards the end because we felt like the amount of blame placed on his shoulders wasn't his.
Yep.
And now I feel like the people that are defending Terry Francona for the people that are blaming him, which is crazy, it's not Terry Francona's fault, they're using the same arguments we were using about David Bell last year.
Correct.
If the team can't field and the team doesn't know how to run bases and the team can't hit, who cares who the manager is?
Yep.
So then why did we fire David Bell? It all comes back full circle, right? This roster is not good enough. And we keep trying to rearrange deck chairs on the Titanic. And it's just not going to work. It's not.
They don't win series that they're supposed to win.
Correct.
I can't. They, like, I don't know what the exact number is. They're like 0-38 when you lose the first game of a series.
They also don't win rubber matches, and they don't
come from behind, and they don't
Right.
beat, and they don't beat teams they should beat. The White Sox are horrible.
Yeah.
The Pittsburgh Pirates are horrible. They just broke the modern record for not scoring more than 4 runs in 26 consecutive games. The Nationals are not good. The Miami Marlins are woeful. I think the Marlins and the White Sox are combined like 40 games under 500. These teams that they're playing aren't good. They went through the easiest stretch of the season, and Jacob and I think we're pretty tentative, saying that they should be like, 5 games over 500 during this stretch. They're not even close.
With that pitching staff, I don't think that was not even unfair of a
The pitching staff
question.
allows
Yeah,
0 runs every
that was
game.
our conservative suggestion.
Yeah.
Was let's be 5 games.
Like
over
this
500.
is what I say. Like, can they sweep the Chicago Cubs this weekend? Sure, they sure can. And we're gonna keep playing this song and dance. Oh, the Reds are back. Oh, they're good. Oh, all you got to do is win this, and all you got to do is win that. They don't stack series wins. They don't know how to do it. They're not a good roster. It's not a good team. They're fine. They're average. They're below average, actually. They're below average. You can't expect them to make the playoffs when you waste series after series. They can win 6 in a row. They can win 12 in a row. And it still doesn't change where this team is going. And where they're going is probably a golf course while everybody else is playing postseason baseball. So I'm not going to blame Terry Francona. But I will say, and this is, I think, the clip we're about to set up here, when I asked Marty what are the differences between Terry Francona's team and David Bell's team, Marty thought that there were a lot of differences. I disagree. And I think in this clip we'll see what he has to say, but, I don't think there's that big of a difference, if any.
So, real quick, before that clip, we talked about this poll last segment. Over 300 votes have been casted on this thing so far. How would you grade the job Terry Francona has done 50-plus games into the season? 4.8% have given him a grade of an A. 29% have given Terry Francona a grade of a B. 52% give him a C. 14% give him a D. As far as that goes, which that's kind of how I envision that playing out a bit. Probably not as drastic as what I was even expecting based on social media reaction. The A's I feel like are.
I understand justification for even a B and saying that maybe the roster's really bad and he's dragged them to 500.
Yeah.
Yep.
He can't score. He's above average. Fine. I disagree, but fine. How do those 5% people justify an A?
Yeah, nothing. There's
If they take 2 or 3, if they take one more game from the Pirates and we put this poll out, does this look? How drastic does this look? Or how different does this look? Do you think it's more B than C?
Probably.
That's how crazy that Pirates series was. That's how it's derailed the mindset of all of us right now. And I'm not saying we're overreacting or underreacting. I'm just saying that's how bad that Pirates series was because you had that 5-game win streak.
Yeah.
You have the Cubs coming up around the corner. You get Hunter Greene coming back. If they take yesterday's rubber game and we put this poll out, I think there's a higher percentage of B than C. I think you would flip-flop them, to be quite honest with you, because they would be 500. They would be winning a lot of games right now, momentum heading into the Cubs series. It would be a good spot to be in. They're just not in a good spot. The Pirates, by the way, are the only team in baseball that average less than 3 runs a game. They're the only. Yeah. They are dead last in runs per game. They are the only team in baseball that average under 3 runs per game, and they scored 5 runs in that series, and the Reds still lost it. Like that. These numbers that the Reds continue to pile up are just insane. What series did they put up 14 runs in game 1? It was early in the season. I can't remember what Rangers. 14 runs in game 1, and then they get shut out the next 2 games. They outscored the Rangers in that series by double digit runs, and they still lost the series. Yeah. We keep seeing these types of things because the offense just completely disappears. It's unbelievable.
How many series have we done that? How many series have we outscored the opponent?
Yeah, I'd have to go look.
I would anecdotal stat most of the losses.
Yeah, I would have to say. I mean, they still have a plus 40 run differential. Yeah. Not that stat means anything. But
shout out that Pythagorean record we're going to have in a couple months.
It's true. It's true.
Math be mathin' as far as that goes. But so I did get a good kick out of this. We had Marty on Tuesday. Remember, at this point, the Reds had just beat up on the Pirates. Monday, they were coming off the sweep against the Guardians. They had won 5 straight. All momentum was coming back. They had announced that Hunter Greene would be back on Friday for the Cubs. So there was a lot more positive vibes amongst the fan base. So Elliot asked Marty Brennaman regarding his thoughts on the hiring of Terry Francona and all this. So then we share the clip, but the vibes have been shot since then. So Marty's just been getting ripped on this clip that's coming up here, fair or not. You asked him the differences between last year's team, or a David Bell run team, and this Terry Francona team. He said it's night and day different, but he also gave his thoughts on the significance of the Cincinnati Reds hiring Terry Francona. Here's a clip from Marty Brennaman, who joined us earlier this week.
In all the years that the Castellini family has owned this ball club, that's the single biggest move that they have ever made, and that was to name him manager of the Reds. Now, having said that, what worries me a little bit, and I'm not seeing it as much as I thought I would be, he was pumped up because of his reputation so much that I think there are fans who erroneously expect him to be a miracle worker. And as we all know, great managers' careers start with having great players, and players who can win. And so I think he will make a major difference in the years that he's here. I know he's thoroughly enjoying his job, and he loves this bunch of players that he has around him. And I think it was just the right move, one that I don't think anybody expected to happen, but it did. And thank God he's managing the Cincinnati Reds.
Thank God he's managing the Cincinnati Reds. I definitely do not disagree with the Hall of Famer Marty Brennaman. I have not changed my view on Terry Francona being the manager of this team. It's a 162-game season. We're 51 games in. This roster was never constructed to win a World Series to begin with. Good enough talent to be able to contend for the playoffs, obviously, and that's what we wanted as fans. I mean, where are we at with this Terry Francona reaction? You hear that clip, and it's like people jumped on Marty for that. They jumped on the clip from the show. Man, this managers don't matter, but man, all we talk about is managers. It seems the fan base does when it comes to this team.
I don't think he's lying. I think I think it's one of the bigger moves the Cincinnati Reds have made in 30 years.
Yeah.
And that says a lot more about where the organization is than how good Terry Francona is. I love Terry. I love Terry Francona. I love him. He's a great person. We were lucky enough to meet him this year. He seems like a guy you want to just hang out with. The point is, if you do not build around him, he cannot win. It's impossible. So when we talk about the differences being night and day, I don't know if I agree. Because the same terrible offense that was here last year is still here. The same promise and same elite starting pitching we had last year, still here. The only difference, really, the same bad defense, still here. The base running mistakes, still here. Nothing's the same bad record, still here. Nothing's really changed. Maybe it changes in the atmosphere of the clubhouse. I don't know about that. Hand up. I don't know what goes on in the clubhouse. Don't know how the guys react. I don't know how many of them like David Bell based on what I heard last year from Jonathan India and a few of the other guys. Clearly, David Bell might have not been the most favorite person in the entire world. That's clearly a difference. But what does good vibes in the clubhouse give us? Does it give us wins? I haven't seen them. They lose to Major League Baseball's worst teams consistently. They don't win back-to-back series ever. You know? And I'm trying to believe in what Terry Francona can bring to this team. I'm trying to believe in that championship level mentality that he's had in the past. But it all comes back down to, who do we have hitting third and fourth and fifth and sixth in this lineup? Are they able to put a ball in play? Craig just said CES is looking to make a comeback. I would love CES to be good. I would love it. But have we seen it recently?
We've seen it never.
Tyler Stevenson, this whole core hasn't been good enough. Outside of Elly, who I think is great. They haven't been good enough. And you can't expect a manager to come in and wave a magic wand and fix it all. So I love the hire. I love that the Reds went out and did something that, as Marty said, nobody expected. I didn't expect it. I wrote off that manager decision the second they fired David Bell. I thought Skip Schumacher was coming to town. We're excited about Terry Francona. We're excited about the young group of guys we have. Nick Kirby, Craig, Trace, Chatterbox Reds. They've been at the forefront of praising and championing these young players. This is going to be the next great era of Reds baseball. And we're waiting, and we're waiting, and we're trying to be patient. And everybody who says, oh, it's only the first 10 games, it's only the first 20 games, 30 games, it's just baseball. What do you know about the game of baseball? I don't know. I don't know what I know. But I know when the Reds don't make the playoffs year after year, when their best record, their best win total, and I think what did Reed say? And since in 12 years is 84 wins.
That's right.
You're not giving yourself a chance. The teams haven't been good enough.
And the window's big enough that it's not the same team.
Correct.
Right? There's something deeper than the players on the roster that's causing this issue, and I think it's because you keep putting the same type of players on the roster.
And it's the same thing over and over again. I love, like, Nick Kral's done an admirable job at bringing a bunch of players that we can all wear their jerseys and cheer for them and think that, in the future they're going to be great. He needs to get players for the now. We need, at some point, this has to turn into we're playing for the present. We're not playing for 2029. We're not playing for 2036. This rebuild should be over. It should be over. This division sucks. It's a bad division. The St. Louis Cardinals have nothing. The Milwaukee Brewers, respectfully, have nothing. They've got a couple good players. The Chicago Cubs are really, really good, so credit to the Chicago Cubs. And then you have the Pittsburgh Pirates, who, with all due respect, probably should have been relegated out of Major League Baseball into like Double-A. So that's what this division is. And the fact that the Reds, it seems like they're not competitive in it. They don't beat the Brewers ever. You talk about changes and differences. Still can't beat the Milwaukee Brewers. 43 of their last 62 in Pittsburgh. You just lost a series to them. They haven't scored more than 4 runs in a month. Nothing's changing. I don't know what the answer is. I don't have the answer. I'm a 26-year-old moron. But certainly somebody else has to have these answers. And there has to be reasons. I don't know if it's all money. I don't know what the deal is. But you can't look at the past 30 years and say the Reds have done enough. That the Reds are a good organization. You cannot look at them and say that. So we'll see what the Reds do moving forward. You have about 3 more years of Terry Francona and probably about 3 more years of Elly De La Cruz. You better win something.
Speaking of moving forward and focusing on the now, your favorite thing, Elliot, top 50 prospects.
Here we go.
We have top 50 prospects coming up. 4 of them, Chase Burns, Alfredo Duno, Rhett Lauder, and Chase Petty, who I think we're all very, very excited about here in Cincinnati. Elliot, good for the young core, right? Getting younger, getting more core.
Yeah. Chase Petty looks great. The prospect rankings are great. I'm happy for the Reds. They got great talent coming up. That's all swell. Let's worry about the Major League roster. Maybe they can win a few games.
Maybe you can turn some of those 4 top 50 prospects into someone on that Major League roster.
Maybe wins. Maybe we can get some wins. Evan Maurer says the all-or-nothing approach is not going to work. Evan, what has worked? What's been the working metric? Has it worked with Elly De La Cruz and Matt McLain? Has it worked?
I'd rather go all in and fail than sit at 80 and 82 for the rest of my life.
I'm just looking for the method that works, man. If you think the prospect game is working right now, you haven't been watching. Maybe it will in the future, but clearly right now, it's not working. So the fact that we're going to continue to ride this same thing for year and year and year and year and year out, I think it's crazy. I think it's ludicrous. I'm not saying they have to be the Yankees. Nobody's saying that. But to not throw your hat in rings here and not bring something to an offense that everybody knew was bad is crazy. Again, I'm happy that the prospects are great. I'm very, very happy. But eventually you got to let go of the prospects, and we just got to get players that can play baseball.